It may seem strange to think that there was once a time where there were no European fixtures in the football calendar. For a long time, all English football had was the Football League and the FA Cup. But in the 1950s, the introduction of floodlights and the growth of television helped the game expand and become more accessible to a wider audience. In 1955, a new competition, the European Cup, was founded. It was to be played between the winners of each division in Europe, allowing the best sides in the continent to face each other. It has since proved extremely successful and is regarded as the biggest honour in club football. But many may not know that Wolverhampton Wanderers are one of the teams responsible for its creation. In December 1954, Wolves hosted Hungarian side Honved Budapest at Molineux. Despite the game being a friendly, it was an enormous deal, and what happened next got the ball rolling for what we now know as the Champions League. This is the story of Wolves vs Honved, the dawn of the European Cup. Under the stewardship of manager Stan Cullis, Wolves had become one of the best sides in England in the years after World War II. Captained by Billy Wright, they won the FA Cup in 1949, and they captured their first ever top-flight title in 1954. Hungarian football was experiencing its golden generation. Despite the national team falling at the final hurdle in that year's World Cup, they were still a side to take seriously. They had defeated England twice, with a famous 6-3 win at Wembley in 1953 and a 7-1 win in Budapest in 1954. Honved had some of the best players from their national team in their side, such as Josef Bozik, Zoltan Cibor, Sandor Kocsis, and their main man, Ferenc Puskás. Wolves captain Billy Wright had been involved in both defeats for England, and so he wished to be third time lucky. Floodlights were something that had recently come into play in English football. Herbert Chapman had got them installed to Highbury for Arsenal in the 1930s, but the Football League did not permit their use. As a result, they could only be used for friendly fixtures. Teams began to use floodlights more and more often in friendlies, and eventually the Football League relented. Southampton installed floodlights in their Dell in 1950, and Wolves soon followed suit. Wolves took advantage of the new technology and arranged a series of friendly games underneath the floodlights, including matches against the South Africa XI, Celtic, and Spartak Moscow. Honved Budapest were invited to play Wolves in a friendly on the 13th of December 1954. The Hungarian side had recently captured their fourth Hungarian League title, and so it was to be a clash of league champions. The match was highly anticipated. The BBC would be broadcasting the game, an honour that was normally preserved for the FA Cup final. 55,000 eager fans packed out Molineux to see some of the best players in the world in action. On a muddy pitch, both sides had early chances. Wolves winger Les Smith missed a virtually open goal, and goalkeeper Bert Williams managed to come out the winner in a one-on-one. But Wolves soon started to struggle, and it looked like a case of the Hungarians humiliating the English was on the cards again. They struggled to deal with the sheer attacking force of Honved, and were soon on the back foot. Laszlo Bulai ran with the ball down the right-hand side and attempted to cross the ball in, but it bounced off the arm of Ron Flowers, and a free kick was given. Ferenc Puskás swung the free kick into the box, and Sandor Kocsis rose to head the ball into the bottom corner. Wolves tried to quickly respond, and Roy Swingborn was played through on goal. He tried to tuck it into the bottom corner, but keeper Lajos Farago dived down to deflect the ball over the bar. Honved were unfazed by this chance, and responded with their own attack. The ball found its way to Kocsis in the centre circle, who played through a pass of Ferenc Makos, who outran Billy Wright to get the ball. On the edge of the box, he blasted the ball into the net to make it 2-0. It was only 14 minutes in, and it seemed like a thrashing was on the cards. Honved almost made it 3, but a terrific double save from Bert Williams managed to keep it out. Thankfully, Wolves were able to hold out the Hungarians until half-time, and the teams went in with Honved 2-0 ahead. The teams emerged for the second half, with Wolves fans applauding Lajos Farago as he took his place in goal, in recognition of his saves in the first half. Les Smith fired a shot at the Honved goal early into the second half, but it went just wide. It was a sign of things to come, however. Johnny Hancox ran with the ball into the box, but Janos Kovacs jostled him away from the ball, and the referee judged it to be worthy of a penalty. Hancox would take the resulting spot kick and blasted it into the bottom corner. All of a sudden, Wolves were back in it, and the game was more of a contest than it had initially seemed. The increasingly muddy surface was beginning to prove a huge problem for Honved, as they struggled to implement their style on such a damaged field. They were now on the back foot, and Gayula Laurent even had to use his hand to prevent Swingborn from being sent through. Wolves continued to press. Peter Broadbent had the ball on the right-hand side and played a long ball across the pitch to the left-hand side. After a brief scramble to the ball, Dennis Wilshaw emerged with it and played the ball into the middle. Roy Swingborn met it and headed the ball down, which bounced under Farago and into the net. Wolves were level, having seemed out of the game at the beginning of it, but they weren't done yet. Les Smith ran down the left wing for the ball and threaded it through for Swingborn on the edge of the box. Swingborn ran onto it and drove it into the bottom corner to get his second and Wolves' third. A worn-out Honved were unable to level it, and the match finished Wolves 3, Honved 2. Wolves had won the game through sheer determination and grit, and Billy Wright had enacted his revenge perfectly by marking main man Ferenc Puskás out of the game and neutralising his threat. The English media were delighted with the result. Many said it was the perfect revenge on the Hungarians for the defeats they had inflicted on the English national side previously. The Daily Mail even christened Wolves champions of the world. French journalist Gabriel Hanot disputed the idea of Wolves being world champions, however, and stated, "Before we declare that Wolverhampton are invincible, let them go to Moscow and Budapest. And there are other internationally renowned clubs, Milan and Real Madrid to name but two. A Club World Championship, or at least a European one, larger, more meaningful and more prestigious than the Mitropa Cup, a forerunner of the European Cup that featured only Eastern and Central European teams, and more original than the competition for national teams, should be launched." Many fellow journalists agreed with the idea, and the concept of European competitions began to gain support. In March 1955, UEFA met to discuss the idea, and later that year, the European Cup was born. English teams were initially prevented from entering by the FA, but Manchester United would become the first English team to participate in 1956, and Wolves would play in the tournament for the first time in 1958, but they were knocked out in the first round. They would win the league again and qualified once more the next season, but were knocked out by Barcelona in the quarter-finals. Sandor Kocsis had joined Barcelona from Honved and enacted revenge on Wolves by scoring a hat-trick in a 5-2 win in the second leg. The European Cup, or Champions League as we now know it, is now seen as the pinnacle of club football, and rightly so. But with all the changes that have been attempted to be made to it in recent times, it is important to remember what it was originally intended to be. This game gave two teams the opportunity to face each other as they had both won their domestic titles, and the European Cup was set up as a reward for teams winning the league. The European Cup was founded as something clubs had to earn through their success, and so it was available only to league winners at first, so teams had to make their chances in the tournament count. With the Champions League being a mainstay of modern football, it is important that the roots of it are not forgotten. Wolverhampton Wanderers faced up to a challenge of one of the best teams in the world, and did not let themselves be daunted by their opposition, and through sheer determination, they found the result they needed. Thanks to Wolverhampton Wanderers' performance, the most significant prize in club football came to pass, and despite only being a friendly, the legacy of this match still stands tall to this day.